Let's see. Okay, well, welcome again, and let's let's start with a little drumming, so we can all attune ourselves to the drum and to each other for just a moment, and arrive here. And let's clean the space now and further attune with sound. I turn to the west. Hail to the spirits that ride the west wind. You who come at the setting of the sun. Come bringing your vision, reminding us of what we've learned. Come, join with us. Help us gather our learnings for this evening. Come. And I turn to the north. Hail to the spirits that ride the north wind. You who come out of the dark, bring the courage to face what is in the dark and what comes out and what is in the light as well. Come, join with us. Come. And I turn to the east. Hail to the spirits that ride the east wind, you who come at the dawning of the day, as the sun opens its morning eye, revealing what has been hidden in the night. Come, join with us. Reveal to us what has been hidden. Come. And I turn to the south. Hail to the spirits that ride the south wind, you who come during the midday sun and the warmth of summer, bringing your words, the music that lets us sing our songs and tell our tales. Come. And the spirits of the center place, you who are here and in all of our center spaces, we thank you for your hospitality and for supporting us in these endeavors. And we thank you for your presence. Thank you. Father Sky, Mother Earth, ancestors, nature spirits, people of the Fae, all of us warmed by the great spirit fire, may you find this sweet. Hooray, hooray, hooray. We are here, in this place now. Clay and water from the earth, sun and wind from the heavens. A divine home for soul, abiding at the center of our being, in the center of the worlds, on the threshold to the horizonless other world. We are here, and it is good. Okay, we're here. Well, I hope you'll forgive my sort of waxing philosophically when I started talking about these ley lines and places being like
with a huge bag of
the particles and waves of light. I don't know if that's relevant or if it's just a flight of fancy there, but we will be doing. I'm hoping this evening we'll be able to focus on both specific places, and I'll be asking you about some of those places that you've seen or experienced, and then as well as currents of energy. And if you read the text, you'll recall, I think Tom referred to the ley lines and feng shui, and was there another one? I don't know. There might have been another one. But there's also another sort of a fringe researchers, realm of other sorts of like geophysical anomalies that create different sorts of magnetic qualities or who knows what, but people feel it. That's the important thing. People will notice that there's something weird at that area of the house or that corner of the property, or that there's something about this particular tree. And so we're going to at least make an attempt at looking at a couple of these types of phenomena or experiences. But I think sort of an overarching umbrella to consider is that this is part of our intimate relationship with the land. That we sort of walk upright and have this illusion of individual separateness, and we do have it, but we're also I don't know, like a blood cell in the living body of the earth. So so part of what we're doing when we're exploring this is we're opening ourselves in this intimate relationship with the earth through the places that we either find as holy places or create to be holy places. There were a couple pages there in the text where Tom talks about like finding a place, sort of selecting a place, or having it select you, and then treating it in a special way. So so what I'm trying to get at is sort of rather than looking at this as just like a technical observation of like something passing by in the night or in the sky or along the earth, but really this is a part of the connection between us and the world here, and our awareness of it suggests to me that it's part of our own physiology as well. It's like, well, I don't know how many years ago this was now, when Candace Pert, a researcher who discovered that she was researching something about opium, I believe it was, and discovered that we have opium receptors in our brain, in our body. And why would we have opium receptors there? And I mean, that's why it works. And the kind of the reading that I've been doing of late about the coevolution of humankind and various kinds of psychoactive mushrooms, as well as flowers, poppies, and even the fermentation of alcohol. These altered states that almost starts to sound like we are part of the psychology of the plant world, as much as we are of the animal world. And so sort of analogous to this thing about I mean, we have cannabis receptors in the body, and that's why cannabis has an effect on us. We have, like I said, the opium receptors, and that's why the fruit of the poppy has these effects on us. And the psilocybin, it's the same thing with all of these psychoactive plants. There's something in us that says, yeah, bring it on. I want this. This is part of what's going on inside of me. And of course, we generate our own. I mean, that's why those receptors are there. And so so we're really just getting a boost, if we take the external substance. It's like the endorphins. You can buy certain the youth hormone. I can't think of the name. It's initials.
DHEA?
Yes, thanks, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, the DHEA. You can buy it, but you can generate it many times the volume of what you can buy in the store. So it's like these things are in us, but we've co-evolved so that we get this other support from the environment, suggesting to me that we are part of one large living organism, the way cells are part of our bodies. Um, you know, that won't buy you a cup of coffee, but um, I think it's a different way. It gets us out of the purely individualistic. Um, I'm walking by myself alone through this world. Um, I'm in it, and it's in me, and that it's our recognition of these places, and it's our ability to perceive these ley lines or lines of force, that's evidence of our unity. That was a long way around to get back to there, but um, we made it. So I'd like to ask the question: you know, have have you been in places that you where you felt a numinosity, where this place just felt so different from other places? Some way special. Um, Now I can think of like a lot of beautiful places, um, and well, I could say special places that I liked because they were like a retreat for me, or they were just absolutely beautiful for some reason. But there are some places like, well, I think it was back in the 1970s, on a road trip through Maine, Mount Katahdin, I believe it was. It was like a 50-mile dirt road through this park, and I got out, and I've never forgot the feeling that it was like being in a cathedral, and it was just amongst these trees, and there was a silence. It was not a dead silence. It was like a, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it even. And that's part of its charm or sacredness there. So that would be one of those places. And actually, felt another one I felt was like around Stonehenge. In spite of all the tourists that were there, there was just like it was like an engine running um, there. So, um, what other places? Where have you been that's felt sacred or felt numinous, powerful?
The oh, what is it called? The Serpent Mound in Ohio.
Oh, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I think the first time I went there, I was like, it was cool, but then it was like, I don't know, it was wild.
yeah, yeah. I love that place. Yeah, thanks, Jennifer.
I I went to I go to a place along the North Shore, and probably a lot of people feel the same way about the North Shore. Um, that it's almost anywhere you go and stop and gaze at that big lake, feel that power. There's a lot of spirit there. But I go to a place that it's called the Singing Beach, and Iona Beach is the stones are this pink stone that when the water passes over it on certain days, it makes a tinkling sound that so they refer to it as the singing beach.
Huh.
But I've had some really powerful experiences there that I just know there's some real strong spiritual stuff going on the cliffs right along that beach that I can't explain it, but I have felt it and had experiences. So yeah.
Neat. Yeah, thanks, Terry.
I can think of two places. You reminded me of effigy mounds in northeast Iowa. Can't remember the town they're near, but definitely sacred. I mean, it's a burial site too. And then Kathy Grimes and I go to Moose Lake State Park, and there's a lake there called Echo Lake, and that it draws me, and I've given all sorts of reasons why I think that's special, and I'm just going to quit because it's just special
It just is.
for me. Yeah, it is.
Uh,
So,
yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Anybody else?
I'll say that the one place I've always remembered is out by Medora, North Dakota. And there's a campground there that is about as close to the stars as you can get. And it's absolutely dark as it's pitch black. And there's no sound. It's just incredible.
Oh, wow. And where is this?
By Medora, it's in North Dakota,
Uh-huh.
by Teddy Roosevelt State Park.
Ah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dania. Anybody else? One more?
I have one.
Yeah, Heidi, go ahead.
Um, I I don't know if anybody's ever been to Jeffers Petroglyphs. It's south of Mankato, and the red rock, and the pictographs on the petroglyphs, I mean, a friend and I went for the eclipse, and we laid out across the rocks. They let you walk across where the pictures are. And of course, people are respectful and careful, but to lay across those and to feel the vibrations and knowing that there were the ancient people drawing pictures there, you could feel the vibration coming up in the rock. And there was other parts where the bison were rubbing against the rock. So when you put your hand on it, you could just feel all of it. So energetically, I'm all being held in the stones there. It just was amazing. If you ever get the chance to go to Jeffers Petroglyphs.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Heidi. Yes, yeah, I want to visit all these places now. Yeah, and how does it feel just talking about them? You know, it's uplifting. Um, there's something that's excited, um, not in a touristy way, you know, in a deeper way. And I mean, we could sort of go off into speculations about, well, it's our feeling that we have because that has some specialness to me, or it has some magnetic power or whatever. And I'd like to suggest that's all irrelevant. The fact is, it is what it is, and you have a response to it. There's a resonance there, and that resonance has its own value aside from any kind of speculative explanations. And we don't have to get like lost in our heads, as I so often do, you know, and stay with the isness of it, you know. So with sort of that as kind of a background, I'd like to let's go on a journey to a sacred place. It could be the one you described. It could be a different one that your helpers take you to. So I mean, you can decide whether you want to just have your helpers, you know, just whether you're going to say, hey, take me someplace special, you know, take me to a sacred place, and let the helpers decide. Or if you have a specific one in mind that you want to visit, you can tell them. So you have a choice here. And of course, you always have a choice. And the two things. I mean, partly go there just to bathe in the numinosity of the place, but also, if you like, to ask to see if there's a spirit there that will communicate with you. Maybe to tell you something about the place, or give you another piece of information, you know, or do a healing, or just commune with you. I say just. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. So we want to go purposefully and openly, to to be as fully with and immersed in that place as we can be. Okay? And we'll say about 12 minutes on this. So as usual, gather with your helpers, and get it together, and the between you and them, decide where you're going, and travel. So what did you find? Oops. Yeah, so what did you find?
Well, I went, this is Naomi,
Yeah, Naomi.
um, to Quetico, where I've been going since, I don't know, I was 12, 13 years old, and where I yearn to go all the time. Um, and I had two particular lakes that were my destination, was Lake Darky and Argo, and which I have been to numerous times, and that I have taken both my daughters and Brenda's son and my brother's son and instructed them that this is where my ashes shall be placed. And in addition to that, my helpers took me on an aerial view of Quetico, of the entire region, which I was able to just absolutely map out all of the spiritual places that I have landed there. And toward the end, they instructed me to take out my yoga skin, which is just a very, very, very thin yoga mat. It's basically just a skin. And as I laid down on that Precambrian shield, I laid it down in several different places. And as I laid down and felt the rock underneath me and started into my breathing, I just became part of the landscape. I wasn't laying on my yoga mat. I was just Quetico. And yeah, and each place the water just kept coming back because each lake has its own oof, everything from the iron deposits to the sparkling clear lake, waters of Argo. And so there was a lot of just refreshment. And I mean, I go there often, just spiritually, and it's so calming and so, I guess one way to say it maybe is just detached from anything else that seems real, and it's more real than anything else, So yeah, it's great. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to take time to do that again. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking us there. Thanks, Naomi.
I'll go. I I ended up someplace I didn't think I would be. I ended up by Lake Itasca, which is where I grew up, a place that I've been to thousands of times in my life, and pretty much kind of just laying in the pine needles, which I did as a kid. And I used to lay there and think the trees were talking to me, and it was much the same. It was like just laying and the trees are waving and talking, and it was just very peaceful.
Sweet. Thanks. I went to that park in Maine that I mentioned, and it was just like I'd go to ask a question or sort of something, and I'd just get back, shh, shh, sort of just shut up, just shut up and be here, like you said you were supposed to do. It was just so peaceful. I mean, it was just a deep peace.
I went to a creek and it's in Sedona, and I don't remember even exactly where because I was like years and years ago that I went there, but I don't remember it was at the top of a hill someplace, and it was just always so peaceful with the rocks on the ground, and then the water just kind of lightly sprinkling over the rocks and just kind of just moving along, and you just almost feel like you just want to sit there. And then I was laying down in the rocks and I thought, well, this can't be very comfortable. And then I said, oh, I'll just be the rocks. Okay, I'll be the rocks. And then the water was just kind of trickling over and flowing over. And for some reason, the direction was from my feet to my head and then out. But it was just flowing nicely and gently. So that was good.
Neat. Thanks, Cynthia. Yeah. Yeah, you can feel, when people describe these things, you can kind of feel the preciousness of it. Those pine needles or the water or, the lakes or whatever it is. One more? Who wants to be the last one?
I can.
Oh,
I
okay.
went to a favorite tree that's kind of like 3-in-1 at a park nearby that I've just been drawn to. I saw it very differently. I kept getting the overhead view for a while and surveying the area and seeing where it sat in relation. When someone else kind of came back and was in there, but it was like being the tree and experiencing everything. There was so much about the air, the wind moving and communicating on the top of the tree, down through the roots, feeling warmth, feeling energy, feeling nutrients surging. Just a kind of an, I don't know, immersive experience of a place I've seen, I don't know how many times.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, how about if we take a break? About 6 minutes by my clock. It'll be 5 to the hour. And then we can come back and have some more fun. Okay. See you in a bit. Welcome back. And now, I alluded to this in my introduction. Tom referred to the ley lines, particularly, and if you were to get onto Google, the great oracle of Google, you can find a lot of information about ley lines, and I don't know who's traditional archaeologists or anthropologists don't give much credence to them at all, and I'd almost say, well, even whether it's true or not, like, so what? But there's something there, and you can on Google. People have produced these maps, these elaborate maps of all these crisscrossing lines on the globe that are these lines of force. But what I'd like to do is, around it could be around the place you live, or if you have another place you're really attached to, you could use that one as well. To let your spirits buoy you up. Let's see. Naomi kind of described doing this already. Getting that aerial view. And that's kind of what we like to do. It's almost like you were Google Earth there, or the Google Maps function where you can go up and look down at the terrain. So let your helpers take you up there for that aerial view, but for the purpose of shifting your focus, not just to see the physical features of the land, but the moving energies, the energies that move across the landscape there. Whether they be some sort of ley lines, some spirit force, a fairy army marching across, the land's ancient memory of some people traveling across the land, or there's the stories of the Wild Hunt. Maybe that there's forces gathering up the souls of the dead. They're still hanging around to take them. My point is to get up and to get that aerial view, to see the movement that's happening, whatever its cause or whatever form it might take. At this time, it could be different. It could just be the wind too, for that matter. I say just the wind, but the wind, the winds bring us our weather, rain or dry. Our climates are partly wind related. So the wind is a powerful force that we really, at least I take it for granted. So is that am I making sense? So we're gonna, if it looks like ley lines, let it be that. If it looks like something else, let it be that as well. But the thing is to be asking your spirits to take you up for that aerial view of the line of the forces moving across the land, however they might appear to you. And it could be as simple as the Mississippi River going by. That is a big force, as well as something invisible. So let's sort of see what we see. And if you wish, you could ask its spirit if it has meaning for you, or you could just observe. Okay. So let's see where this takes us. Okay, then, what did you see in the air?
I'll say something.
Hey, Kathy.
I was having a little bit of trouble staying focused, but when I was, um, I could see because I was kind of in between being above where I live, the city here, and above my cabin, which is kind of in a diagonal um, direction from here. But one of the things I noticed, and I don't think it was in current time, is that all the around the lakes and streams, all the little clusters of development, like little houses along lakes, all in one line, and at least before these areas got really developed. So I'd see a series of those, and then there'd be, and I don't know if it got more present, but there'd be these big areas that seem like scarred areas where um, either development had been stopped or the lines have been disrupted by something. I think about electricity and I think about power. Um, and then, of course, in between all that were like the rivers and, of course, the bodies of water. It was just kind of interesting. And I don't have a great takeaway from it, except um, I can certainly see there's patterns.
Mm-hmm. No, okay. Thanks, Kathy. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, I had an interesting experience. So, I have a big backyard that's woods, and then there's like a pond in the back. And I'm like, well, I'll see if I can tell the difference between water and land. Like, that would be kind of a cool thing to see if I can like energetically see the difference. So I'm above, and then I find myself flying to Anoka, and there were like these black figures. Like it started out as like two under a bridge, and then these women in like grandma like burqa things were like coming out of the water and like following, and then maybe there was a dozen, and then I flew around some more, and there was like a black figure by a tree. So I don't know if I was seeing ghosts or, but it was definitely some otherworldly
Uh-huh.
kind of thing.
Fascinating. Yeah, thanks. We had trolls under the bridge. And when you think about the history, the ancestry, we talk about this off and on, the ancestry of the land, on which we live and around us. What's been there at different times and what may still be there, either physically as well as spiritually or ghostly, or who's buried underfoot here, whose bones are here. Yeah. I went here at their house and was just sort of like noting what sort of looks like a drainage ditch on the one end of the property has now been given an actual name. It's now Prairie Creek, and it flows due south into Coon Creek, further away. But anyway, so there was sort of that as a flowing presence. But then was the wind. The path of the wind that where we are, it sort of comes across here from the northwest, and it's cold. When it's cold in the winter, that's where the cold comes from. And but it wasn't. It was the wind, and it wasn't the wind. It felt like this was a stream of something that started really further beyond the wind and then sort of joins with the wind here and comes like, well, through the house or around the house and then on into the, what would be the southeast there. So there's sort of this diagonal flow. And I think I was being told I need to set up some sort of feng shui remedy around that. That is, there's some this energy that's coming from there either needs to be. My first thought was dispersed, in feng shui if there's something like that. Might put up a wind chime or just something purposeful that helps to disperse those arrow-like winds. But then it occurred to me more like some sort of something to actually help it move around the house. I thought, so what I thought was a grounding rod, basically. That'll receive that's coming from the north, take it down into the earth, and let it travel. And then I'll have to make a little antenna on the southeast side. So I have to make something unobtrusive there, between the house and the road, that our neighbors won't notice. So it was not what I had expected really, but it seemed to be something really useful to me, or helpful to us. Anybody else?
I had trouble with this, but the one thing I saw, I live in a building that has 4 apartments and we're all one level. So I saw this dome over my apartment and the land that would be my yard. And I have 2 trees that are good friends of mine out in the yard. And so this dome covered them and my apartment. And then, everything that I would consider my yard. And it was pulsating.
Mm.
So, and when I leave for my vacation for 8 days, I do put a protection around the whole complex because I'm concerned that I don't want anything to happen to all the folks here in my area. But I also put a protection around these 4 that are in my building. So I don't know, but anyway, that's as far as I got. I couldn't see any ley lines or so forth. I do have wind chimes out, that kind of on the north, actually. Yeah. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So if I could add, so maybe that's just a natural thing that's there, or maybe that is what you saw was what you have built energetically over time, and it put me in mind. Well, at least when I read it like 40 years ago or something, I thought it was a wonderful book. It's called Science of the Sacraments, and it's by a man named Ledbetter, and I think you can get it now just as a PDF. I think it was published in the 1920s. Well, it's 100 years old. But this guy came out of the Theosophical Society, or he had some connection with the Theosophists, and he was a psychic. And what he did was describe the old Catholic Eucharist energetically. In other words, the interchanges between the officiant and the congregation, and the particular sayings, whatever they were doing, um, built an energetic cathedral. And there are diagrams in the book about it. And it would build up this energy structure around it through their actions. And so here was something, and I give some great credence to it. Here was something that by human action also created these energetic forces there. And there were a number of interesting things in that I'll, as an aside, in the older version of these services, there was that thing of what was it? The priest would say something like, "The Lord be with you," and the congregation would say, "And with thy spirit." That then was modernized to be "and with you." But what it originally meant was the congregation was empowering the spirit on the altar, not the priest. It wasn't really meant to go. It's like, okay, I bless you, you bless me. We're cool together. But there was all this idea that there was a spirit attending to the altar for these things, and that, of course, it was kind of lost over time. So, my point being, these energetic structures that human activity can build as well as the ones that just sort of come out of the blue.
Hey, Carl, that Science of the Sacrament, YouTube has a 2-part series by Ledbetter, taken from his book, that you can
Really?
actually watch. It's like it's 4 hours total, I think. It just came out this past year.
Oh, geez. Oh, thanks, Tanya. Well, extra credit. Other things that people saw?
Well, I'll share real quickly because it was so very interesting to
Yeah.
me. We live on a lake. It's called Lake Notley. It's about 7 miles long, and it's a dammed river that was dammed during the 40s.
Hmm.
So our river current runs toward the dam, obviously, and is constantly running. But the winds come out of the north from the opposite direction. So you have this undercurrent going one way, and you have the winds coming from the north when it's cold the other way, which is cool. And I saw those so vividly kind of working with each other and against each other. It was kind of this push and pull. But then my guide took me up and said, "We're going to show you the whole Tisquity watershed." And so elevated way up, and our watershed goes way up into Tennessee, and just to see how the Notley River is part of that watershed. And then when we came back down, as we came back to Lake Notley, our house was on a cliff. I mean, we're at 2,000 feet and 50 feet from the lake now, but we're 80 feet deep right off our dock, and all the water was gone. And it was just the river as it was originally there. And so suddenly I was seeing the whole area and the river in front of me, as it was before it was dammed.
Oh,
And then there was this path that went from my house down to the river, and I was told, you need to drink from the origins of the river, not from what is flowing now, which it was just so cool. But to see our lake as the river was just fascinating. It was like, whoa, okay, cool. Yeah, and part of that whole watershed. Yeah, it was very interesting.
thanks, Naomi.
I don't know how accurate it was, but it was cool.
Well,
Have
but
to
the
look
me-
at the
but
pretty water.
the message, drink from the source.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, drink from the deep waters. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, well, so what do we make of this in terms of spiritual practice for daily life? I could drink from the deep waters. I mean, they're like I think they're messages sort of embedded in all of these experiences, and those that are shared can speak to us, the others of us as well. And let's see, what did I want to say before we close? Yeah, we're starting the second semester here of this, so we're kind of at the halfway point. And if you've read ahead, or if you just have an interest in something in particular, let me know, because we could work something in, or find an edge to it that can keep it alive, and not just what's in the text. I mean, there's lots of good stuff in the text, but if there's something that you feel a calling to explore there, let me know, and we'll, see what we can do to work that in. So what does this mean? In terms, well, I'll throw out some thoughts. I mean, it's like when we think about, what occurs to me again is that wind that comes out of the north and flows through here. What does that do to my energy? Here being in its path, and wondering about like where Naomi is, and describing the river going one direction and the wind going in the other. What does that feel like, and what effect might that have on the people and the other creatures, around there, in terms of what it feels like, or even like the serpent mound that Jennifer mentioned. The way that serpent undulates there across its mound. That what does that energy say to us? Thoughts or ideas, or
This is Jill. I'm so
yeah,
curious about all that too, um, especially with some of the journeys I had tonight. I went to the Serpent Mound for the first one. I've never been there in real life, but that's where my animal allies suggested. And when we got somewhat near there, when I could see it, I traveled with a bird. From a bird's eye view, there was like a big dome over the place. Like what Anne was talking about, kind of. It was like this big dome that felt like
mm-hmm.
it was alive. It was like pulsing, breathing, but it was also a kind of a barrier. And I felt like I waited, or this bird and I, we kind of waited for like permission to enter. And when we did, it was a huge amount of emotion that I felt. Just like, I don't know, lots of emotion. And we just went very slowly down to the mound, and the bird picked a spot for the both of us. And we just kind of stood there. And as we stood there and just, we just didn't know what we were doing or what was going on, but we were there. And then it was like we kind of weren't ourselves anymore, so much as that we like blended with the energy of the pulsing of the earth there, like a breathing or a heartbeat or something. And we just stayed there for a while. There wasn't much said. They were just like, nope, just be here. And it was like refreshing and rejuvenating and energizing and but at the same time calming. And when it was time to leave, we kind of separated from the place, and they thanked me and I thanked them. And that was not at all what I expected. And then my journey here, there are a few cemeteries around my where I live that I really like to go to. And there's a river that runs behind my house. I really like to go there. But the cemetery closest to me, I don't really like to go there actually. I don't like the feel of the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I like exploring these ideas with all of you because I'm not sure what to make of it either. So thanks for listening and sharing some
No.
of your ideas.
Yeah,
I
thanks for
appreciate
that,
that.
Jill. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mentioned I was. I didn't mention I was going to mention this. I also when we were doing the bird's eye view and looking after. Once I got this stuff about these air currents, I went to the Serpent Mound. So, so I mean, Jennifer sort of started this cascade of the Serpent Mound. But I felt I got this sort of, no, this isn't for you now. This isn't yours. And so I got that barrier too, but I didn't, you know, I went on then. So thanks, Jill, for mentioning that. Anybody else? Well, the feeling of these places, clearly, and it may have some. If you should undertake the mission, should you decide to accept, about establishing a sacred place, I mean, you don't have to do all that work. Tom lays out pretty elaborate these things you can do in finding a place and how to treat it, and he does that. I mean, he lives that way, and he's near lots of hiking trails and mountains and things. Yeah, but we don't all have that opportunity. But we may have a spot in the corner of the house, or in a closet, or in the yard, that we can just put a stone there and let that mark the spot. So it's, in my mind, it's a way to honor and embody that relationship we have with the world, with the earth. It's the relationship is there, but when we bring consciousness and embodiment to it, you get that kind of experience like Jill was describing, or the peace that I felt. So you can do with that what you will. And I think it's good to remember that in these very uncertain times now, that there are still these holy places. We don't have to get absorbed into the, what would you call it? The societal energies that are these vortices whirling around to try to capture our attention and energy. That there's still these holy places that exist in the world. And because we respond to them, these holy places are alive within us, in our hearts. We just have to turn toward them and open ourselves to them. So that's what I wanted to say about that. All right, so let's do the formal closing, and then we can chat if anybody wishes to do that. Or you can go find a warm spot and curl up somewhere with a hot toddy. Okay. All right. We thank you, spirits of the west winds. We thank you for this learning and the visions that you've given to us. The time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Unto you, northern spirits, thanks for coming out of the dark to be with us and to bring the courage to have these adventures. The time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And to you, spirits of the east, thank you for being here and opening our eye as your eye opens at the morning light to show us these things. The time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. Thank you. Thank you. I turn to the south. Spirits of the south, thank you for attending to us and giving us the words to tell our stories, to communicate and to share and to convey to one another what we find. But the time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And to the spirits of this place, thank you for your hospitality, your ongoing, evergreen support in all seasons. The time of our parting has come. We'll go and we'll stay. Thank you. There we go. It's finished. I would like to announce a reminder for those that are interested that our Imbolc celebration is next Tuesday, the first stirrings of spring in the old Celtic world. Did I say Wednesday? No, Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, Saturday.
Yeah. Next Tuesday, 28th.
Yeah.
And all are invited. Otherwise, live long and prosper.